Imagine walking into a corporate office and coming face to face with a real dead shark, suspended in a glass tank the size of a small room. Not a painting of a shark, not a sculpture inspired by one. An actual tiger shark, 14 feet long, preserved in formaldehyde, floating in eerie silence behind glass like something pulled straight from a nightmare. Now imagine finding out that someone paid $12 million for it. Not for research, not for a museum, just to hang it in their office. That someone is Stephen Cohen, one of the most powerful hedge fund managers on Wall Street. And this purchase tells you everything you need to know about how the ultra-wealthy use art not to express beauty, but to express dominance. The shark that shocked the art world, the piece is called The Physical Impossibility of Death in the Mind of Someone Living. Try saying that 3 times fast. It was created in 1991 by British artist Damien Hirst, who became infamous for turning dead animals into multi-million-dollar museum exhibits. The concept was simple and deeply unsettling. Take a real tiger shark, submerge it in a steel and glass vitrine filled with formaldehyde solution, and force the viewer to confront something genuinely terrifying up close with zero escape. When it first appeared, critics didn't know what to do with it. Was it art? Was it a stunt? Was Damien Hirst a genius or a con artist? The British press called it shocking. The art world called it revolutionary. And a man named Charles Saatchi, the legendary British advertising mogul, bought it for £50,000 and put it on display at his gallery in London, where it stopped people dead in their tracks for over a decade. But over time, the shark began to deteriorate. The formaldehyde solution wasn't strong enough. The skin started to rot. The color faded. The tiger shark that was supposed to look menacing began looking like something scraped off the bottom of the ocean. Hirst had to replace the original shark entirely with a fresh specimen, a fact that later sparked a philosophical debate about whether the replacement made it a different artwork altogether. None of that seemed to bother Stephen Cohen, the man who bought it. If you don't know Stephen Cohen, here's the short version. He founded SAC Capital Advisors, a hedge fund that at its peak managed $14 billion in assets. He is one of the most aggressive, high-risk, high-reward traders Wall Street has ever seen. His fund generated returns so consistently extraordinary that other traders quietly wondered how he did it. In 2013, SAC Capital pleaded guilty to insider trading charges and paid one of the largest financial penalties in Wall Street history, $1.8 billion. Cohen personally avoided criminal charges. He restarted under a new fund, Point72 Asset Management, and kept building wealth. He is also one of the most obsessive art collectors on the planet. His personal collection is estimated to be worth over $1 billion and includes works by Picasso, Warhol, Monet, and Van Gogh. He spends tens of millions every year adding to it. His Connecticut home reportedly feels less like a residence and more like a private museum where a family also happens to live. So when the shark came up for sale in 2004, Cohen saw it and wanted it. The deal was brokered privately. The final price, reportedly $12 million, for a dead fish in a box. Subscribe now. We're just getting to the part that will genuinely make your jaw drop. Why $12 million? For this, here is where it gets fascinating, because this wasn't an impulsive purchase. This was a calculated, deliberate decision made by a man who understands power, perception, and psychological warfare better than almost anyone alive. When you walk into Stephen Cohen's corporate environment and you encounter that shark, something happens to you involuntarily. Your brain registers danger. Your nervous system responds. You are standing in front of something that your biology recognizes as a predator, even though it is dead and sealed behind glass. And then your rational mind kicks in and tells you, someone bought this, someone owns this, someone made a decision to put this exact thing in this exact place. That person is Stephen Cohen. And you are standing in his world. Art historians and psychologists have written extensively about the phenomenon of intimidation through collection. The ultra-wealthy have understood for centuries that what you choose to display communicates something far more powerful than any speech, any title, or any business card. Roman emperors lined their halls with marble busts. Renaissance popes commissioned Michelangelo. 20th century robber barons built museums with their names on them. The message is always the same. I have the resources to own beauty, and I choose what beauty means. Cohen took that tradition and pushed it somewhere darker and more honest. He didn't buy a pretty landscape. He didn't buy a serene sculpture. He bought something designed specifically to make people uncomfortable. Something that forces a confrontation with mortality. Something that whispers very quietly, "I am not like you." The Damien Hirst machine, understanding why this shark is worth $12 million, also requires understanding what Damien Hirst built around it. By the time Cohen bought the piece, Hirst was already one of the most commercially successful artists alive, a man who understood that controversy was currency and shock was a business model. Hirst followed the shark with an even more audacious piece, a human skull cast entirely in platinum and covered with over 8,000 diamonds. He titled it "For the Love of God" and priced it at £50 million. He reportedly sold it to an investment group that included himself. Whether that counts as selling is a philosophical question. Whether it generated attention is not. What Hirst understood, and what made Cohen's purchase so strategic, was that the shark wasn't just art, it was a brand. Owning it made a statement about the kind of person you were. You weren't collecting pretty things for pleasure. You were collecting ideas, provocations, cultural artifacts that sparked conversations at the highest levels of society. You were buying into a very exclusive signal system that the ultra-wealthy use to identify each other. What art does in high society. There is an old saying in collector circles, "Buy what you love." That is excellent advice for someone purchasing a painting at a weekend market. It is completely irrelevant at the level where Stephen Cohen operates. At the apex of wealth, art acquisition functions as a multi-layered tool. It is a financial asset. Major artworks appreciate in value, can be used as loan collateral, and offer certain tax advantages when donated strategically. It is a social passport. The right collection earns invitations to the right events, connections to the right people, credibility in circles that have no interest in your balance sheet. And it is a psychological weapon. What you display tells the room who you are before you say a single word. The shark does all three simultaneously. As a Damien Hirst original, one of his most famous and controversial works, it holds enormous financial value in the contemporary art market. As a piece owned by Cohen, it signals his membership in a very specific tier of collector. And as a physical presence, it dominates any room it enters with an authority that no abstract canvas ever could. Billionaires don't decorate offices. They curate environments. Every object in their space is a deliberate communication. The bigger picture Cohen paid $12 million for a dead shark, and decades later, the world still cannot stop discussing it. That is the kind of return no analyst can properly calculate. Attention, mystery, and the enduring question of why anyone would do such a thing. Reportedly housed at the Metropolitan Museum of Art on long-term loan, the shark continues to arrest ordinary visitors, making them pause, stare, and feel something beyond explanation. In elite circles, art is rarely just about beauty. It is status, power, and coded communication. Stephen Cohen did not merely buy a shark. He bought a conversation, a legacy, and a room-defining symbol of influence. From outside, that fascination is why the story endures. If you found this fascinating, hit subscribe. Every week we pull back the curtain on the financial decisions, hidden power moves, and extraordinary excesses of the world's wealthiest people. The stories are always stranger than you think. The stories are always stranger than you think.